Welcome back to my channel Story Glow. Let's listen to a captivating story. Reborn with memories of a life filled with poverty, betrayal, and loss, Beatrice vows from the womb to rewrite her fate. She awoke to warmth and water. At first, she thought it was a dream until she heard the steady thump thump of a heartbeat above her. She was small, fragile, curled tight. She realized with shock she was in her mother's womb, 3 months old. Yet her mind carried decades of memories, painful, bitter, fleeting memories of a life cut short. Her thoughts were clear, though her body was small. I died, didn't I? She remembered the hospital bed, the smell of disinfectant, the sharp stab of chemo, and the quiet, pitiful looks of nurses. She remembered being poor, scraping through life with jobs that wore her body down. She remembered Susane's smirk the day she lost her scholarship, the pivotal moment that had ruined everything. She remembered her father turning away in shame when she called him dad. And she remembered dying alone. But now, here she was. Beatrice trembled, then laughed weakly inside her mind. The womb pulsed gently around her, safe and warm. She pressed her tiny hands against the soft walls of life and whispered into the void of her thoughts, God, you gave me another chance. I won't waste it. Mama won't suffer. I'll protect her before I'm even born. This time, she would be different, strong, prepared. Floating in the amniotic warmth, Beatrice began to focus. She had no body yet to move freely, but her mind was alive, sharper than ever. Beatrice thinking, first, I'll take care of my health. I'll be the best baby for Mama. No more stress for her. I'll protect her. Beatrice strengthens her muscles by moving her legs and fingers at first, then later on kicking and jobbing. This is to prepare her for birth. She also made sure to position herself head down. Her thoughts became sharper each day. Though she was still small and helpless, she couldn't speak, not yet. But inside, she repeated her mantra, eat well, rest well, be born healthy, grow strong. Sometimes she could faintly hear voices outside, muffled like sounds underwater. One day, a woman gently laughter echoed about her. Her mother's voice, she's growing well, doctor? My baby's okay? Doctor, she's doing fine. A strong heartbeat. The girl pressed her tiny fist against her chest as though to answer. Yes, Mama, I'll be strong for you. This time, I won't let you die early because of me. I'll protect you. Her father was still there, smiling sweetly, pretending at warmth while betrayal simmered beneath his polished exterior. He thought her mother was blind, that the truth lay beneath charm and excuses. But Beatrice knew better. Curled in the safety of the womb, she whispered into the silence of the nights, her thoughts reaching out like threads toward the woman who carried her. Mama, don't let him walk away clean. Make him pay. Demand what you deserve. One evening, her mother's voice cut through the living room, sharp and trembling, like glass on the verge of breaking. I know about your secretary, the affair, the child. Don't bother denying it. Her father froze, color draining from his face. You're being ridiculous. Even if it were true, if you don't give me half of everything, her mother snapped, slicing through his excuses. I'll go straight to the board of directors. They'll ruin you. A heavy silence fell. The air seemed to thicken, the weight of unspoken truths pressing against the walls. Finally, his voice returned, bitter and clipped. Fine. You want money? Take it. Houses too. Just get out of my life. And so, unlike before, her mother walked away not broken but with half the savings and two houses to her name. In the womb, Beatrice smiled, small and secret. This time, Mama, you won't starve. This time, you live. Her mother often hummed as she worked around the small home. Beatrice, tiny but determined, concentrated. She nudged her mother's thoughts, whispering inside. Beatrice, whispering in her heart. Read more, Mama. Learn. The world will change. Social media will matter. Start early. Soon, her mother began reaching for the radio more often, tuning in to the news instead of the usual gossip shows. At night, she dusted off a book she hadn't touched in years, the pages stiff with disuse. One quiet afternoon, her gaze lingered on the basket of young chair. Sigh from her lips. It's just a hobby, she murmured to herself. Nothing special. Inside the darkness of the womb, Beatrice steered. Her thoughts brushed against her mother's subconscious like a whisper in the wind. Record it, Mama. Show them. People will love it. The seed of the idea took root, blooming in her mother's mind as though it had always belonged there. Within weeks, she had opened a small channel online, filming simple tutorials on crochet basics. At first, the videos were awkward, her voice uncertain, her hands fumbling with the camera, but slowly, viewers began to appear. Comments trickled in. So clear. Please do more. Beatrice smiled in the womb, her tiny form nestled in warmth. Yes, this time we'll be ready. No matter how small, we'll start building early. Every word her mother read at night drifted down to her like raindrops falling on still water. The quiet hum of turning pages was a lullaby unlike any other. Yes, Mama, read more. Feed your mind. This time will be different. Her mother sat by the window one evening, a business book propped open in her lap. She frowned, almost amused. Why am I reading this? She wondered aloud. I was never into business books before, but lately I just feel like I should. She shook her head, yet turned another page. Beatrice kicked softly in encouragement. Her mother laughed, pressing a hand to her belly. You little rascal, are you the one making me pick up books now? You're not even bored yet. Yes, Mama, Beatrice thought fiercely. Read, learn. If you grow, I grow too. We'll win together this time. Weeks passed, and her mother's shelves grew heavy with books and flowers. One afternoon, she set down a gardening manual and stared at it with puzzled eyes. I don't know why, but I feel like learning about roses and orchids lately. Maybe I've gone crazy? Her gaze softened as it dropped to her belly. Do you like flowers, my baby? Beatrice stared, her tiny heart racing with joy. Yes, Mama, flowers mean life, color, business. We can open a shop below the apartment. You won't have to work yourself to exhaustion anymore. Her mother chuckled when she felt the gentle kick. You did? So you do like flowers. Maybe it's a sign. And so time flowed quiet but purposeful. With rental income from one apartment and new ideas blooming in her heart, Beatrice's mother began to eat well for the first time in years. Fresh fish, sweet fruits, crisp vegetables. Nestled within her, Beatrice grew strong and healthy. Thank you, Mama, she whispered silently, pressing against the warmth that held her safe. Stay healthy. I'll be the best daughter this time. I promised. Then the warmth shattered into light. Air rushed into Beatrice's lungs, sharp, cold, burning. Her tiny chest convulsed as she released her first cry, fierce and loud, echoing her determination to live. Her mother's labor had been smooth, almost miraculously so. The midwife placed the newborn in her trembling arms. Tears spilled down her cheeks as she clutched the bundle to her chest. My beautiful girl, she whispered, voice unsteady with wonder. Welcome. At the sound, Beatrice's cry softened. She nestled closer, soothed by the steady beat of her mother's heart. I'm here, Mama. Her thoughts rang, weak but clear. This time I'll protect you. We'll bloom together. Growing up, Beatrice was different. She rarely fuzzed, her eyes always alert, listening as if every sound in the world mattered. By 2 years old, she was already scrawling clumsy letters. By 3, she could read simple books. Her mother often laughed, both proud and bewildered. You're such a clever child, she'd say, ruffling Beatrice's hair. Sometimes I feel like you'd been here before. The little girl only smiled. If only you knew, she thought quietly. I have been here before, and I won't waste this life. Months later, after Beatrice grew into a bright little girl, she crossed paths with an old man in their neighborhood. He struggled to carry groceries, but Beatrice, though small, offered her hand. Beatrice said cheerfully, I'll help you, Grandpa. One afternoon, as she steadied his steps across a curb, the old man stopped and studied her carefully. Then, with a small smile tugging at his lips, he surprised her. You've got spirit, little one. When you're older, he said, nodding as if making a promise to himself as well as to her. Come see me, I'll give you work. In her past life, this moment had been a blur, but this time she knew this was fate. He would become instrumental to her success. Years passed. Beatrice grew clever, bright, determined. As Beatrice entered her teenage years, history tried to repeat itself. The scholarship, the same one she had once lost, came again, and so did Suzanne, beautiful, envious, hateful Suzanne. Suzanne smiling sweetly. Oh, Beatrice, you're applying for the scholarship too? Don't get your hopes up. In her past life, Beatrice had been naive. She hadn't noticed Suzanne sneaking into her classroom, swapping applications. This time, Beatrice was ready. The final year of high school was a battlefield. Beatrice studied like her life depended on it, because it did. The scholarship was her golden ticket, the one thing Suzanne couldn't stand to let her have. One afternoon, a classmate tapped Beatrice's shoulder just as she was finishing the last line of her notes. Beatrice, the principal's looking for you. He said to come right away. Her pen froze mid-stroke. A spike of panic shot through her. The deadline for the scholarship application was less than an hour away. She had been guarding those papers as if her life depended on them. Because in truth, it did. Still, she couldn't ignore a summons from the principal. She rose quickly, her heart hammering, and hurried down the hall. When she reached the office, the principal looked up from a stack of files, eyebrows lifting in surprise. Beatrice, what brings you here? She blinked, breathless. You didn't call for me? Confusion creased his face. No, I didn't. Her stomach dropped like a stone. She spun on her heel and ran, her shoes striking sharp against the polished floor, a dread she knew too well from her first life pulse in her veins. When she burst back into the classroom, she saw her nightmare standing by her desk. Suzanne leaned against the chair, too casual, her hands tucked neatly behind her back. Beatrice's eyes narrowed. So, this was it? This was the moment? In her past life, her chance had ended here, her application ruined. But this time, she had been ready. She had submitted the real forms days earlier to a direct courier. What lay on her desk now was only a decoy. Suzanne smirked with their eyes met. Oh, did you miss something? Papers are such fragile things, easy to lose. Beatrice stopped a few paces away, her expression unreadable. Slowly, she let a smile tug at her lips, not warm, but pitying. Don't worry, Suzanne, she thought coolly. What's mine will come to me, no matter what you do. The week of the scholarship results arrived, the air in the school thick with anticipation. Beatrice carried herself with quiet calm, though beneath her pressed uniform, her heart raced. Suzanne, surrounded by her ever present circle of friends, caught sight of her across the courtyard. The sneer came instantly. Even if you get into a cheap college, Suzanne said loudly, ensuring her words carried, you should feel lucky. Girls like you don't belong anywhere higher. Her friends erupted into laughter, the sound sharp as knives slicing through the crowd. Beatrice only tilted her head, her gaze steady, her voice calm. We'll see. The laughter faltered just slightly at her composure, and for the first time, Suzanne's smile twitched. The letter had already come. Heavy, official, life changing, full scholarship, prominent university, but she kept it to herself. Let them choke on their assumptions. A day before leaving for university, Beatrice went to the mall for supplies. She had a list in hand and resolve in her chest. But fate, or rather Suzanne, was waiting. The boutique was quiet except for the faint hum of soft music and the occasional shuffle of customers' feet. Beatrice trailed her fingers over a row of neatly displayed handbags, admiring the craftsmanship. When the whispering began, look at her, one of Suzanne's friends muttered loudly enough for others to hear. Poor girl's probably here to window shop. Careful, she might steal something. A few heads turned. Another girl's eyes gleamed with mischief. I saw her slip the newest earphones into her bag. Gasp rippled through the store. The sales lady stiffened, her pleasant smile faltering as suspicion flickered in her eyes. Beatrice drew herself upright, her voice steady and firm. If you want to accuse me, she said, her gaze sweeping across them all, then call the police, and while you're at it, check the surveillance footage. The certainty in her tone startled the crowd. For once, the usual victim did not shrink. She stood tall, her composure unshaken. Minutes later, a police officer arrived. Beatrice did not tremble as others might. She folded her hands in front of her, chin lifted. The footage played. Gasps filled the shop again. This time, directed not at her, but at the girl caught on camera. One of Suzanne's friends had slipped the earphones into her own pocket, laughing with the others at Beatrice's expense. The prank had turned into a crime. You're coming with us for questioning, the officer said sharply. The guilty girl burst into tears as she was led away, her cries echoing through the aisles. Suzanne's face burned red, fury and humiliation twisting her features. She leaned close, her voice a venomous hiss. You think this changes anything? You're still nothing. Beatrice's gaze met hers, calm and cutting. Funny, she replied softly. I was just thinking the same about you. Days later, the train station smelled of steel and rain. Beatrice clutched her suitcase tightly, her mother's warm hands wrapped around hers. Promise me, her mother whispered, eyes brimming with tears. You'll eat well, you'll sleep. Don't push yourself too hard. Beatrice smiled, though her throat tightened. Mama, I'll be fine. This is our second chance. I won't waste it. Her mother wiped her cheeks, her voice trembling with pride. I'm proud of you, my bee. As the train lurched forward, Beatrice pressed her forehead to the window, watching her mother's figure blur into the rain. Goodbye, Suzanne. Goodbye, misery. I'll come back stronger. Meanwhile, the cafe near the school gates buzzed with chatter and clinking cups. At the corner, Suzanne sat with her circle of friends, her manicured nails tapping idly against the glass of her iced latte. So, no sign of Beatrice today either? One of them said with a grin. What do you think? Finally, too embarrassed to show her face? Suzanne smirked. Embarrassed? Please. She probably ran away. Imagine putting all your hopes into one little envelope only to get nothing back. The table erupted in laughter. I heard the scholarship results were already mailed out. Another friend added. Maybe she couldn't handle the rejection. Oh, poor Beatrice, Suzanne said, voice dripping with mock pity. All studying all those boring nights in the library, and for what? To end up with nothing? She should have known she'd never on her own fate. A girl leaned in curiously. Do you think she applied? Seriously? Maybe she got scared and didn't even submit? Suzanne's eye gleamed as she leaned back, exuding confidence. She submitted. I made sure of that. The friends blinked. What do you mean? She waved her hand casually as if brushing away an insignificant detail. A sly smile played at her lips. Let's just say accidents happen when desperate people chase dreams too big for them. And Beatrice, she'll always be exactly where she belongs, beneath me. Giggles and approving nods followed. To Beatrice, one girl toasted, raising her cup. The girl who thought she could fly, and crashed before she even left the ground. Another snorted. Their laughter filled the cafe, loud and unkind. Suzanne sipped her latte slowly, savoring the bitterness masked by cream and sugar. The taste of victory lingered on her tongue, sweet and satisfying. She'll stay a loser forever, she murmured to herself, lips curling with satisfaction, just the way it should be. What none of them realized was that Beatrice was already starting her life at the university, not broken, not beaten, but on the brink of making her own path to claim a future far brighter than their shallow gloating could ever imagine. University life was no easier than her childhood, but this time Beatrice had armor. She studied relentlessly, fueled by memory and determination. She met mentors, friends, and eventually the old man she once helped across the street, who later offered her a position at his medical foundation. Step by step, she built herself into what she had always dreamed of, Dr. Beatrice Flores, specialist, healer, survivor. Then later on returned to her hometown and worked in the hospital. The hospital smelled faintly of antiseptic and polished floors, a clean sharpness that clung to every corner. Beatrice's heels clicked softly against the tiles as she walked down the corridor and into her office. She set her bag on the desk, slipping into the calm rhythm that years of practice had carved into her. The intercom crackled. Dr. Flores? The nurse's voice came, even and professional. Your next patient is Hussein Lambert, third pregnancy complications. Beatrice froze. For a heartbeat, the past slammed into her chest with suffocating force, mocking laughter in hallways, whispered insults, nights of silent tears. But she breathed in, steadying herself, her hand resting lightly on the desk. When she lifted her chin again, her composure was intact. The door opened. Suzanne stepped in, pale and drawn, exhaustion written across her features. She looked every bit the weary, expectant mother, until her gaze lifted and collided with Beatrice. Her eyes widened. Shock rippled across her face. You? You're the doctor? Beatrice adjusted her glasses with practiced calm, her voice smooth, professional. Yes, I'll be handling your case today. Silence stretched between them, heavy with years unsaid. Susanne's eyes darted over the pristine office, the framed certificates, the neat stack of patients' files. Envy burned hot, twisting her mouth. You, she whispered, almost choking on the words. You really made it. Beatrice's expression softened, but only faintly, just enough to show recognition, not forgiveness. Her voice, when it came, was measured, cutting in its truth. Yes, because I stopped letting people like you decide my worth. Color rose to Susanne's cheeks. She turned her head away, shame and bitterness wearing in her downcast eyes. Beatrice lowered her gaze to her notes, her tone slipping back into the calm cadence of a doctor. Now, she said, steady as steel, let's talk about your health. And just like that, the balance of their lives shifted, quietly, irrevocably. The morning sun spilled across the breakfast table, turning the kitchen into a patchwork of gold and shadow. The scent of fresh pancakes lingered in the air, mingling with the sweetness of sliced strawberries. Laughter bubbled around the room as Beatrice worked at the counter, her knife moving steadily through the fruit while her twin boys bickered at the table. Mama, he got more syrup than me, Lucas complained, pointing at his brother's plate. Did not, Mateo shot back, his cheeks puffed out, sticky with sugar. Beatrice sighed, though her lips curved with amusement. You two will be the end of me, she murmured. Just then, Daniel slipped into the room, the rich aroma of coffee following him. He leaned down to kiss her cheek before settling into his chair with a satisfied sigh. Don't worry, sweetheart, he said, lifting his cup. They'll argue about syrup today and football tomorrow. It's just training. Beatrice gave him a look, arching a brow, though the smile tugging at her lips betrayed her amusement. If this is training, then I'm running a war camp. The twins burst into giggles, sticky fingers waving their forks like tiny swords. Syrup glistened on their chains, their laughter bright and unrestrained. Daniel watched them for a moment before his gaze softened, turning to Beatrice. His hand reached across the table, brushing against hers with quiet warmth. You're doing so well, Bee, he said, his voice low and earnest. The hospital, the kids, me, you balance it all. Her eyes softened as she slipped her hand into his, squeezing gently. She looked at the family she had fought so hard to protect, the life she had only dreamed of. Meanwhile, across town, Suzanne sat in a cramped apartment, the walls pressed in on her, peeling paint, whispering of better days long gone. In the next room, her third child wailed. The sound sharp, relentless. Her husband hadn't come home in 2 nights. The baby cries, her body ache, worn down by pregnancies too close together. Her face, once admired, now bore the weight of exhaustion. Tired eyes, lined cheeks, beauty fading beneath years of regret. On the table before her lay a magazine. Its glossy cover seemed to mock her with perfection. Dr. Beatrice Flores, award in hand, recognized as one of the top young specialists in the country. Susan's breath trembles. It should have been me. It should have been me with everything. But even as the words slipped from her lips, Suzanne knew the truth. Beatrice had earned every victory, every accolade, every step forward. And Suzanne, she had only tried to destroy. The baby's crying returning, louder, echoing her emptiness. The garden shimmered in the soft glow of spring. Laughter rang out as two small boys, Beatrice's twin sons, chased each other between the flowers. Their footsteps quick, their joy boundless. Beatrice stood nearby, one hand cradling her stomach, while new life stirred. Her gaze softened. Daniel noticed and grinned. Daniel warmly teasing. Another one, huh? Are you hoping this time it's the girl you always talk about? Beatrice turned to him, her eyes shining. Yes, a daughter, someone who'll know she can dream without limits. Months passed, and that hope took shape. A baby girl. Clara was born. From the moment she arrived, the rhythm of their home shifted. The twins were little storms, full of noise and energy. Clara, in contrast, was her calm, gentle, observant. Her wide eyes seemed to study the world as she already understood its secrets. She giggled when Daniel danced with her, clutched Beatrice's finger when she worked late into the night, and toddled faithfully after her brothers, determined to keep up no matter how fast they ran. One evening, Beatrice rocked Clara in her arms, humming softly. She kissed her daughter's forehead. You're the hope I never thought I'd see. I'd give you the world, little one. The scent of garlic and rosemary filled the air another night as Beatrice stirred a pot of soup in their cozy kitchen. Clara clung to her apron while her brothers raced toy cars across the floor, filling the house with the soundtrack of childhood. Daniel leaned against the counter, sleeves rolled up, watching Beatrice with a smile that held both love and admiration. You know, Dr. Flores, you're even more beautiful in an apron. Beatrice laughed, tossing him a mock glare over her shoulder. And you, Mr. Flores, promised to keep the kids from turning the living room into a racetrack. With a chuckle, Daniel bent to scoop up one of the twins, who squealed in delight. Guilty, but in my defense, they're faster than me. At her feet, Clara tugged at Beatrice's apron, wide eyed and smiling, as if reminding her mother she was part of the dance too. The house was alive with warmth, love woven into every sound, every smell, every touch. A family whole, a dream fulfilled. A child's voice, bright and eager. Mommy, can we go to Grandma's flower shop tomorrow? I want to help water the daisies. Beatrice bent down, pressing a kiss into her daughter's soft hair. Yes, my love, tomorrow morning you'll be Grandma's little assistant. Her heart swelled. Every hardship, every tear, every night she once thought she wouldn't survive had led here to a life filled with warmth, laughter, and light. The next morning, the bell above the flower shop door jingled. Sunlight spilled across neat rows of tulips, roses, and orchids, each bloom a small miracle of color and care. Behind the counter stood Elena, Beatrice 50s now, but glowing with health and joy. She tied a ribbon around a bouquet, her smile serene. At her feet, two little boys chased each other in circles, while a toddler girl sat perched on the counter, cheeks stuffed with cookies. Careful, sweetheart, don't drop crumbs in the lilies. Your mama will scold me if she finds sugar ants in the shop. The toddler giggled, crumbs falling away. A sudden crush, the boys tumbled into a bucket of daisies. Elena clapped her hands together, laughter spilling out. Oh, my brave soldiers, if you keep attacking the flowers, I'll put you both to work watering them instead of spoiling you with candy. One of the boys, Lucas, pouted dramatically. But, Grandma, you always give us candy. Elena knelt down, eyes twinkling, her voice dropping into a conspirational whisper. Elena, whispering with a grin, that's because I love you more than all the roses in the world. But don't tell your mama. I'm supposed to be the strict one. The children squealed with laughter and threw their arms around her. Elena stroked their hair, her eyes glistening with pride. The woman who once feared losing everything, who once lived in shadows of exhaustion and despair, now stood surrounded by beauty, family, and peace. The hum of the shop blended with giggles and fragrance of flowers, a place where scars had healed and love had finally taken root. Cut to a dimly lit dining room. Beatrice's father, Charles, sits slumped at the table. His current wife, Marisa, snaps at him from the kitchen. Marisa irritated. Did you pay the bills or are we going to have another shut off notice? Honestly, Charles, you used to be a man people respected. What happened to you? Charles doesn't answer. He stares at the empty whiskey glass in his hand, his face hollow with regret. I had a daughter, a good daughter, and I threw her away. Marisa rolls her eyes, slamming a cupboard door. Don't start that again. That girl and her mother were dead weight. You should be grateful I stood by you. Charles grips the glass tighter, his knuckles white, his voice cracks, a mix of bitterness and sorrow. Grateful? I had a family, a flower of a wife, a brilliant daughter, and I let envy and pride steal them from me. Now look at me, rotting in this house, while Elena blooms without me. Back at the flower shop, Elena places the finished bouquet in a vase, humming softly. The children run to the window, pointing at the butterflies dancing outside. She watches them, her heart full. This is enough. I don't need riches or recognition. I have flowers to tend, children to love, and a daughter who turned our pain into a garden of happiness. She wipes her hands on her apron, her smile radiant. The bell jingles again as Beatrice walks in, balancing groceries. The children run to her, shouting, Mama! Elena laughs, arms open wide. Welcome home. Years passed. Beatrice's name grew, first as a doctor, then as a researcher, and finally as a voice the world listened to. Her papers were published in international journals. Her speeches drew standing ovations at conferences. She became, in every sense, a woman rebuilt from ashes. One quiet afternoon, fate chose to twist the thread of her story once more. The sliding doors of a supermarket whispered open. Beatrice stepped inside, a basket in hand, with Clara skipping beside her. Clara, 5 years old now, curious eyes always wide, her little hand wrapped securely in her mother's. They turned down an aisle and froze. There, between the shelves of cereal and rice, stood Suzanne. Her once perfect hair, now dull, her face thinner, lined with weariness. A child clung to her leg while her cart carried little more than discounted groceries. For a heartbeat, the world stilled, their eyes locked. Susane's cheeks flushed with shame. Her grip on the cart tightened. Clara tugged on her mother's sleeve, voice soft, innocent. Mama, do you know her? Beatrice inhaled slowly. Her gaze softened, her voice steady, almost like a whisper to herself. Yes, once upon a time. Susane's lips trembled as if words fought to surface, but none came. Her eyes fell, and she turned sharply, pushing her cart away, the wheels rattling against the linoleum floor. Beatrice stood still, watching her disappear down the aisle. Her heart was heavy but resolute. She had no desire for revenge. Life had already carved its justice. Beatrice tightened her hold on Clara's hand and moved on.